let's start talking about the kids who aren't ever talked about.
Exactly. Welcome to Jersey Mat Chat. This episode is sponsored by Beato Baits, 5-inch stick baits designed by a wrestler, built to win. With a range of color options and a perfect sink rate, these things will get bites when nothing else will. And don't miss the mystery color, made from leftover plastic each week, melted down and molded into one-of-a-kind baits. No two are the same, but they all catch. Perfected for anglers who just want to catch more fish. So, if you're grinding on the mat, take that same energy to the water. Beato Baits, B-E-A-T-O. Tough to beat, easy to fish. Check for the link in the description of this episode, or you can find them on Etsy. Today we're here with Christian Ramirez, the hammer from St. Peter's Prep. Doug, tell us about this hammer.
Christian Ramirez, currently a freshman at St. Peter's Prep, SPP. Had some injuries last year, wasn't really on the scene much, and that's where we're gonna find out what happened and what's going on. Christian, thanks for coming.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Some brother. So how long of a ride was this for you?
10 minutes.
You're close, right?
Yeah.
Where do you live?
Matawan.
Matawan.
Next town.
It's beautiful, yeah.
All right. So, well, before we get into it, why didn't you go to Matawan High?
So I really like the culture in private school, especially at St. Peter's Prep. Like, it's a very unique school. But I mean, at Matawan, the wrestling culture, they're getting back into it now, but they used to practice in the cafeteria. They just got a wrestling room this year. And the culture was never like in Matawan. It was always a football school. It wasn't really a wrestling school. So I mean, I always steered away from Matawan since I was really little, just seeing the culture there.
Okay, so let's say a handful of 8th graders are considering going to St. Peter's Prep. Sell it to them.
Food. At lunch, we get to go wherever we want. I mean, not wherever we want. Where there's boundaries, freshmen 1 block, so sophomores 2 blocks, seniors wherever. But I mean, and we're 3 blocks away from the water. The school, the atmosphere is just amazing there.
It's like in inner city, right?
Yeah, inner city, right in the middle.
Oh, that's cool.
So like, there's no. It's just a building in the middle of city blocks.
Yeah, we got 3 buildings. We have the PAC, Prep Athletic Center. Then we have the English building and the science and math building.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you commute there on a daily basis?
So I was going there this year. I drove up with a senior, Max Nevlin.
Okay.
I would wrestle with him since I was really little, and he drove me up every day. But the seniors this year ended like a month before everyone else, so I had to start transitioning to the train. And
Take the train to school?
yeah, I was taking the train to school. It's like a 40-minute train ride to Newark
Nice.
from my town. And then I would take the transfer to the path, like 15, 20-minute path ride. And the path drops me off 2 blocks away from my school.
I've done that train so many times. I used to work in Newark. So
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's
So
interesting.
you go by yourself, or is there other SPP kids that go with you on that train?
There's a couple, I think there's 2 or 3 kids I'll see every day at my stop.
Right.
Like, not at my stop, but as I'm getting on, I'll see the kids. They get on at South Amboy, which is a stop past me. And there's another kid that gets on in Middletown right before me.
Okay.
So, but I'll really start seeing prep kids when I get on the path at Harrison, at Journal Square, which is
wild.
another stop in Jersey
wild.
City.
You ever get mad when you miss the express?
Yeah.
And you gotta go, that's the worst, bro.
It is the worst.
Well, I guess taking a train is better than taking a taxi.
Yeah.
It is.
Or Uber, yeah, whatever. I guess.
Bus.
So what are your grades like?
So it was
Be
fun.
honest.
It was funny. This year,
Be honest.
I think I had a low 3 point something GPA. But what really was killing me, we had to take Latin. In our school, freshmen are always obligated to take Latin for at least 1 year. And this year, Latin was killing me. I couldn't. It was crazy. So the transition alone, I did homeschool last year, so it was just barely any schoolwork. And then into St. Peter's Prep, which is more schoolwork, harder schoolwork than public school. So
Now, you went to public school for 8th grade, right?
Yes.
So was it a big difference going to private school? What's the education part like?
So it's just it's a lot more intense, the schoolwork, the tests, everything's more serious, I think, in school, at prep school.
Did they give you any breaks for being an athlete or?
If you're a really good one,
Yeah.
you have to earn your respect in the school.
Oh, cool.
So say something in Latin.
Can't even tell. Actually, I don't think they even speak it. They don't speak Latin. It's a dead language, but they make us,
Read it.
yeah, they make us read it.
So it was. All right, let me stop laughing. Was SPP your only school you visited while you were in 8th grade? Like, were you locked in on SPP?
Not really. I was visiting schools, and I was visiting CBA for a while.
Okay.
CBA was always the school for, I think, 6th and 7th grade.
Okay.
Because I would always go there for like their summer practices or whatever. And I was good friends with the Kenny brothers. And we would always go there, drill, practice or whatever. But then Max Nevlin, his dad, reached out to my dad and said, what about St. Peter's? Because they were looking for lighter weights. And then we took a open house there. Went to an open house. We met the coach. And I also did an open house at St. John Vianney. The difference was at St. John Vianney, I met the coach and everything. They never reached out back to me. I went to St. Peter's. The coach reached out in a week, asked me.
Nadi didn't call you back?
No, not didn't call me
Really?
back. Yeah.
Interesting. So what do you, was it an adjustment to go to an all-boys school, or have you always gone to all-boys schools?
It was an adjustment, but it wasn't a big adjustment,
No drama, right?
No drama.
That's good. So what's the philosophy, wrestling-wise, what's the philosophy like in that room?
The practices are intense during the season. Intense. I was hurt for the beginning of the season, so I was just watching for a while, and it was intense. A lot more intense than club practices and the practices at public school.
Does your coach take more pride in, let's say, being hammers on top, or being impossible to ride, or does any kind of philosophy like that come to mind?
Not really. I think he's all around. I think he likes to be balanced in every position.
Sometimes there's that question between, you do focus on what your best move is and just practice that, or you guys like to be as versatile as possible?
A couple kids in the room like their one move. They really like their top moves, but I'd say most of the room is focused on all around being versatile.
So who did you guys lose, and who do you have coming back?
We lost Kane Riccardi and Max Neville.
Yeah, McCarty's stud. Yeah, and Mad Max is stud. Okay.
And we also lost our heavyweight Connor Reynolds.
Okay.
And that's always harder to find.
Any give us some intel on any incoming freshmen that we don't know about?
I don't even know, to be honest.
You don't know? Okay.
Yeah. I think we have some kids coming in 2 years. There's a bunch of real 8th graders right now that are doing a holdback.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I think in 2 years, that's when we really need kids. Because right now we have a bunch of juniors coming back. But after the 20, I think they're 26, the class of 26 leaves, we need to start doing a lot of recruiting.
That's a good question, actually. Your holdback year, do you think it helped you going into the freshman year?
Oh, so much. I'd always say wrestling was my number one sport because I also played football when I was younger, but I never really was really great. Like I never stood out in wrestling. Like I think I was a harder worker with the little kids, but I never really stood out. Like the studs when we were little, Killian was on here. He was always a stud. He would always beat me up. I would always wrestle him in Jersey Shore. But I really started getting good my real 8th grade year. I went to Super 32 and placed there, and that's when I started taking it really serious. I stopped playing football and just drilled in on wrestling.
You've always been, it appears that you've always been strong.
Yeah.
I don't think you've ever lacked strength.
Yeah.
From what I've seen of you over the years. So you got injured last year.
Yes.
So what happened?
So it was kind of a freak accident. I've never been injured, never hurt anything. And last year, training for Super 32, I was at club practice at Shore Thing, and we were just wrestling live, and just my foot got stuck in the mat. We rolled.
A seam in the mat?
I don't know. It might have been a seam, but I don't think so. Where we were on the mat, I think it was just my foot, and the grip on the shoe just got stuck, and my body was rolling. My foot just stayed. And really, I thought it was a lot worse than I thought it was my ankle, dislocated my ankle. I looked up, I was sitting down, I held my leg, but.
So that occurred, you said that was what, October or September?
I think it was late September, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks out from Super 32.
So do you remember the medical diagnosis of your?
I don't remember the name, but I remember it was crazy because we went to the hospital, took an X-ray right after it happened, and they said no fracture. Okay. And we were like, okay, maybe skip Super 32, get back into it, be ready for the season. Then we went to an orthopedic surgeon, and they said nothing. They took another X-ray. They said nothing, but then we took an MRI, and then they called my dad. I remember him calling me in school, and he said, I have to call you out of school. We have to go to the orthopedic surgeon right now. They said they saw something on MRI, and it could be serious. So I was like, all right. We went to the orthopedic surgeon, and he was like, it was very small, but in the MRI, we could see a small fracture, 2 small fractures, and they were like I forget what it's called. It's like the toe, the bone of the toe. That's where they were. I think it was my big toe wasn't fractured.
Okay.
It was the one next to that, skip one, that wasn't fractured, and the one after that was fractured. So it was like, because it could have been a lot worse if it was 3 in a row that were fractured. But the good thing was I lucked out that there was there was like a support beam for the toes that weren't fractured in the middle. They were kind of
So it wasn't a growth plate issue or concern?
no,
Never? Okay.
yeah. It wasn't a ligament or anything.
Not a doctor, but I've heard growth plate issues are serious.
Yeah.
Whatever, why ever and however that is, I don't know, but you hear growth plate.
Yeah.
So, well, that's good. So you were in a boot cast?
I was in a boot for, I think it was like 10 weeks or whatever. We went to I forget his name, the doctor, but he said that I was going to need surgery 100%. We scheduled the surgery, and then my uncle, actually, I lucked out. My uncle called me up, and he said, get a second opinion. You need a second opinion.
Of course.
Because surgery could really, it's really bad. So we went to this doctor. His name was Dr. Bellapianto in North Jersey. We went to him, and he said, I don't think you need surgery. I think we just need to demobilize it. And we put it in a boot, crutches for 8 to 10 weeks. Started doing physical therapy, I think, week 6. And then I started feeling good back in physical therapy. They really said I was coming back in like late March. But then I started feeling better like early January. Got cleared early January.
Now, we saw you at the Beast. You were in your boot.
Yeah.
You were big.
Yeah.
All right, now, so you were slated to go 106. Am I correct?
Yes.
When you got back from your injury and you were cleared, was 106 completely out of the question at that point?
It was looking rough.
Yeah.
But it wasn't completely out of the question. I weighed myself, I think it was late December, right after Beast. Yeah. I was 130.
Yeah, I saw you. Like I said, you were big.
Yeah,
you
I
were
was
big.
130. Yeah. And when I didn't tell anyone else that when I saw 130, I just got curious one day, not knowing when I was going to be cleared, stepped on the scale 130. I was like,
oh boy.
And then 130 started cutting back a little bit, started eating a little better, got down to like 123, just eating better. And then I was like, all right, this is a little closer, a little more doable.
17 away. That's all.
Yeah, a little more doable, but I mean, it was still
tough.
really.
That's still tough.
Yeah. You cut 7 and you're 17 away. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So when was the decision made? Well, let's back up. So you didn't wrestle in the postseason.
No.
So why?
So I got cleared, I think it was January 11th. The dates that are coming in my head are 11th to 14th. I don't know why. One of those days. It was on Catholic school duels, the third day or second day of Catholic school duels. Got cleared. The next week, we had a try against Germantown and I think it was Germantown and Green Farms Academy in Connecticut.
Connecticut, yeah.
Yeah, that was at home. And for that duel, I was like, I think I was 119 at that point when I got cleared. And they were like, can you get down to 106 for that try? Yeah, I was like, yeah. And I started doing it that whole week. I was like, I don't know, this weight's not coming off easy. And I was like 116 on like, I think Wednesday or Thursday. And I think we had to weigh in on Friday. Or Saturday morning we had to weigh in. That's when we had to weigh in. Saturday morning. And I was like 116. And that's when the weight was it was like, oh, I don't know what was going on. I wasn't like I was sucked out yet. It just wasn't coming off.
Yeah, that happens.
2 practices a day too. And I got down to 113. And then Friday night, I was in the sauna after practice, and I was sweating too. I was like, maybe I feel good about this. I'm sweating in the sauna right now. Maybe I'll get out of the sauna light. I was like 112 and a half. I had to be, I think it was 108 the next day.
Maybe 9 with an additional pound.
I think it might have been 109.
Yeah.
And then I saw that. I was like, damn. I texted my coach. I was like, that's what I got down to. And then the next day, it was like disappointing kind of because it was that late in the season. Like I didn't feel bad to wrestle off. It was just like he was earning his spot.
It was a pecking order.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was what, Rodriguez at the
Yeah, Rodriguez. Okay. He was earning his spot at 13 during the season. He won 2 wrestle offs already at 13, and he earned a spot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I guess again, man, we talk about this all the time. You wrestlers, especially at your age, you're still growing. They commit to a weight. Every wrestler does, and then a spurt happens. Yeah. Or in your case, it could have been a combination of a spurt and inactivity combined.
Yeah,
that's just
and
a lot.
It's the inactivity, and I was eating terrible. I was eating terrible because they told me I wasn't wrestling until late March. I had no idea I was coming back mid-season.
You can't. I don't blame you for that.
Is there any way you would have approached it differently now, knowing what you know after the injury?
Definitely. I was thinking I could have been a lot more smart with it. I could have been eating a lot better, staying low, and then we would have really known if it was a growth spurt. Yeah. But And knowing that I was going to be inactive for like 3 months, I should have cut back a little bit. But yeah, it is.
What do you
it is.
weigh right now?
Right now, I'm sitting at like 30, 32, 33, mid 30s.
Yeah, you look good. But yeah, it's funny. I do remember seeing you at the beach. I remember it was sitting down there with the How crew and Tanner and Luke were like, "What do you weigh?" And you gave some number, and I'm like, yeah. You're definitely not that.
I actually think I remember a bunch of the dads at the wall of disappointment all arguing over whether you could get to 106 or not, and if it was healthy,
When I
all that
committed
stuff.
to 106, it was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you.
I would. I think I would have been the biggest 106.
When you commit to something, it sounds great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go until you step on the scale and you're 130.
Yeah.
Then your whole life is like, yo, now what? You know. And again, a team like that, you can't. If he was at Matawan, he could go 126. He could go 120. He could go 130. He can go wherever he wants.
Yeah, absolutely.
There, not the case.
Yeah.
You know, those teams they're good teams, but there's prices you pay when you commit to go to those programs. You know, more accountability. You know, and that's makes why those teams click and why they're
100%.
successful. So now, club-wise, no, the season's over. Summertime, springtime. Where do you go?
Sure thing. That's my main club. That's been my main club since. So my first club was Valor.
Okay.
And that closed down. That was with Coach Anthony Castro.
Okay.
That was when Max Nevlin was there too. And then that closed down, went out of business. I went to Short Thing. It was actually funny. I wrestled Sonny DiMatteo, who's been there his whole life, started there. Got pinned by him when I was like 8, I think. And then my dad walked up to his dad and says, where do you go?
That's how it works.
And Short Thing.
That's how it
Went to
works.
Short Thing. I got really close with Killian. That was my practice partner there for a while. He got me a lot better. And then that's been my club forever now.
Yeah. That was packed last night, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Whew.
Do you believe in club loyalty? Are you loyal to Sure Thing, or do you go where you hear the partners are going to be?
I think that club loyalty is a big thing. Like, I think being loyal to your coaches is a big thing. But I like to practice where there is, like, mainly 2-3 times a week Sure Thing. If I need extra practice, cut weight, I have a tournament coming up, I just need those extra days I practice. Monday and Wednesday, go to Ruthless up north with Ramo, practice some freestyle. Or maybe on Saturday, I'll go to River in PA, practice with the Bachmans.
Something about PA. People who don't train there just don't understand.
No.
It's
Different world up there.
It's a different world in PA. Well, I knew you went to River. I like hearing a kid's perspective on loyalty. Not to praise or degrade any club. It's just I'm curious where kids, do they have a system? Do they have something that they believe works? Is it multiple rooms? Is it multiple partners? Or is it the same regiment? Is it the same philosophy? And build off that. So I'm always curious to ask every kid that.
Yeah, me personally, I find myself drilling wise, I like my specific partners. During the season it was Robbie. Me and him drilled. I think we drilled great together. He got me a lot better. Off season, my holdback real 8th grade year was always Sean Elliott at Short Thing. Me and him got really close drilling together. I think it's really like if you're really familiar with your partner, it could get troubling sometimes because in live or whatever you're doing the same things over and over. But I think in drilling, if you get the good partner that gives you a good look, you could do a lot of things.
Helps you push.
Helps you push.
Yeah, you were slated to have a good freshman year too.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's over and done with. I'm sure it hurt you, but you moved on, took it on the chin.
Yeah.
Does it make you hungry for this year?
It does. Like I was at the state tournament, seeing all the kids that I was doing the holdback 8th grade with wrestling, Sean Kenny, Matt Mully, and I was seeing all of them. I was like, I should be there.
Yeah.
But then I
And having
was like,
success too.
Yeah. And I was like, I got 3 more years though.
You do.
So
It's good perspective. Hey, listen, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Can't
but it
change
is what-
it, so.
Now, did you have to go to follow-ups to make sure that it's healed correctly, and even after you're cleared? Because I don't know
So
this injury.
it was recently actually after I think it was NHC duels and Northeast regions. The first day of Northeast regions, I felt it again. My last match. That was the first time I felt my foot again, and I was like,
What did
"Dad."
it feel like?
It didn't really hurt. It just like I felt where it was. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was a little sore there after the first
And
day.
just when you wrestle, or when you run, or climb steps, or
It was just when I wrestle actually.
Okay.
Like I would run, play spike ball, whatever, play with my friends.
yeah.
Felt fine. After wrestling practice, 5 days a week. Maybe on Sunday I'll feel it. But I felt it after the first day in Northeast Regions, after wrestling Tommy Marchetti. I felt it. And then I was like, Dad, I feel it. And then he was like, all right, what do you want to do? I was like, let's just wrestle.
Yeah.
Let's go, second day. And then I was wrestling. 2 weeks later, I had NHC duels. I still felt it. It wasn't like anything troubling. It felt like it wasn't getting worse. So I was like, I have a little break after NHC duels. Let's just wrestle. Wrestled NHC duels. Got done with that. Took 2 weeks off. So my first practice back was last Sunday.
Okay.
Is it possible it's a little soreness and that kind of stuff?
It feels great now.
Yeah.
So I think it was I was doing 5 practices a week, for 5-6 practices a week, just for I think 2-3 months, getting ready for those off-season tournaments. 'Cause I know this off-season is really good, really needed for me.
Of course. In theory, you're behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. The loss of competing for an entire year sets you back.
Yeah.
You can train and train and train, but he missed, let's call it 40 matches.
Yeah.
Let's call it that.
Yeah.
He missed, and that is, it's a lot.
That's a realistic number too.
Yeah, it's about right. So when you were, I meant to ask you this, when you were making your cut back down to 6, did you have a nutritionist?
I did.
Who?
So I used Dan Warnikoff.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Champion athletes.
yeah, he helps. I was doing him since I think 6th grade with him, and he helped me a lot. Making weight was so much easier, so much less stress. But then I started doing those big weight cuts for Super 32. I think I went 95 my real 8th grade year for Super 32, and I think it was my first big weight cut, and that was really tough. But he helped me a lot. Like, I was definitely not gonna be able to do that without him. But then I said 106, and then I broke my foot, had to break a little bit. I think, all right, but I got back, said I was going 106, tried to make it, but there's only so much he could have done with a big weight cut like that.
What's the first thing you crave after a weight cut? When you get home, not preparing to compete, but when you get home and let's say you can eat, what are you craving? Cuban food?
Cuban, not really actually.
All right.
I mean, I like cheesesteak.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty
I
much,
like
that's a safe bet for most.
Yeah, I like
That or Chipotle. Most kids will say cheesesteak, Chipotle, wings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like wings after weigh-ins. I don't know why.
Dude, don't do that.
I don't know why.
Wernickoff's going to kill you. Don't do that. he will give you, Wernickoff will give you almost like a shitty food list that's not, he knows teenagers cheat on their diets.
Right.
He knows that. And he understands that if you're going to cheat, eat this.
Right.
That's what he kind of teaches you.
Yeah.
And which is kind of, it's cool.
Yeah. You've heard his
again,
name before. He must be good. Yeah.
Teenagers are knuckleheads, and they're athletes and they're disciplined, but they're gonna go off course a little bit.
he understands.
And they're gonna crave that Chick-fil-A or whatever they're gonna try to want, and he's pretty good at that. So when you were a couple years ago coming up through the circuit, what New Jersey wrestlers did you find yourself following, watching, trying to mimic?
Always Santinellos,
yeah.
Evan
Sure thing.
Talmadge. Yeah, sure thing.
Makes sense.
Every day.
Okay.
Just watching them wrestle. It was always Tyler Barrett too, Garrett Totten. They all trained at Sure Thing, so I was always watching them. And I really looked up to them. They were always really good in high school, always worked really hard. Even now, they come back for the summer. I was with them actually yesterday and Sunday when it was my first practice back in 2 weeks. So I was going slow a little bit, a little sluggish, a little rusty. But they were pushing me back. They were getting the motor running again.
They're good kids.
Yeah.
They're good kids. Now you're, what are you, 16?
16, yeah.
You're 16. Who do you find yourself trying to emulate, trying to copy, try to mimic, if anyone? Any college guys or high school guys?
That's hard. Really, really Anthony. If I had to pick out one of them, the Santinellos, Anthony, always harder worker. Okay. I think I'm more like Vincent because me and him, back and forth, banter. But really, Anthony, hard worker. So I'd have to say him. And they're having struggles with injuries too.
Yeah.
So I kind of related to them with my foot. So.
Well, Vincent is now at TCNJ, right?
Yes, he's transferring.
Yeah. Well, so that's cool. He's close enough now that you could, maybe support him on the college side and watch him compete, which is good.
What's a typical week like for you? What does your regimen look like?
Training?
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, practicing. Maybe if I'm feeling off, something, Monday, Wednesday, I'll take off. Tuesday, Thursday, that's short thing practice. I'll go there. Sundays, I'm always training. But if for a big tournament, 2-3 weeks out, I'm always practicing 5-6 days a week. On Monday and Wednesday, I'll go up north to Ruthless and practice with the Ramos. And then on Saturdays or Friday nights, I'll go to River Wrestling Club.
Do you mix in strength training?
I do. Really, off season, I do that. But off season at St. Peter's Prep, we had these off season lifts wasn't there much. But I mean, I don't like to lift when I'm training for something. But really off season, that's when I do it.
Yeah. So what? No, and you're your typical 16-year-old kid. You live near the beach. You kid like you want a summer job or anything? You interested in that yet?
I really am trying to find a job.
Like what? What would be ideal for you?
You know, I try to be a lifeguard.
Okay, that's tough.
I try. Yeah, my sister's a lifeguard. She's swam her whole life.
Really?
Yeah, she is.
That's cool.
And she was trying to train me for the certification, and I was like,
It's brutal.
I thought I could do it. I was really confident. Went to the pool with her, and she was like 6 laps, tread water for 2 minutes after those 2 laps.
That's brutal.
Or 6 laps, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I hopped in the water, 2 laps. I was gassed.
Yeah.
I was gassed.
Can you imagine being a teenager sitting on a lifeguard bench on the beach all day?
Sounds great,
that's
but
your
no
gig.
way.
No, I couldn't do the swimming
gig.
like he said. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
well. So what? Did you give up, or you're going to try to re-pursue being a lifeguard?
I gave up.
Come on, man. You're a wrestler. Wrestlers don't give up.
I gave up. But I've been
be a
trying to
quitter.
find. There's a farm across the street from my house, and they sell like fruits, whatever. And I'm trying to work there. I could literally walk there.
Yeah.
It's nice
drive the
out
tractor?
outside.
That'll get you strong. Yeah.
Tractor.
Actually, I was just on Tuesday went up to Bayonne, like I was going to school on the train or whatever, helping my uncle. He's redoing his house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, demolishing.
Nice.
That was fun.
Those are some good life lessons, man. You learn some good stuff there. Yeah.
So where do you see yourself? You're a freshman in high school, soon to be sophomore. Well, technically you're a sophomore. Your school year's over.
Yeah.
What do you see yourself in college? Big Ten, ACC, Ivy? Where do you see yourself?
I
Perfect world. Where do you see
perfect
yourself?
world.
Yeah, always perfect world.
See myself in Ivy League.
Okay.
I was always focused on academics. This year kind of set me back a little bit because it was really like an eye opener. High school a lot different than middle school. For
sure.
Academics, athletics, everything.
For sure.
But really, I was always thinking Ivy League, but I opened my eyes to schoolwork, how hard it is, plus being an athlete on top of that. I really want to stay Big Ten, and I like to stay on the East Coast.
Yeah. You don't like car? I don't like long car rides. How about you?
I mean, I can handle them. Depends, though.
Well, you don't have to drive them yet, though.
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
You start driving them, it's a little different. Yeah, I mean, college. It's the funny thing is, Christian, it's going to be here like that. Mm-hmm. You're going to be picking schools in 2 years.
Yeah.
Committing. Maybe you commit 3 years, but you might be committing next year. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's a wild ride, and it goes by fast. Mm-hmm. And it's but future looks bright for you, of course. Now, you didn't get a chance to accomplish any goals you had set last year. How about next year? What's your goals?
Next year, I'm still setting them high, stage ham.
Okay.
Next year, Super 32, trying to place high there, get college to look a little bit, have a great season, Beast, Powerade, all those. I'm trying to have a really bounce back season.
What are you thinking weight wise for next year?
2026.
2026.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
depending on Robbie.
Of course.
Yeah, we're talking it out. We're
Grow
on
another
this one.
10 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, no one knows.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, then they have the realignments. Then you don't know. Not that many kids really care, but we won't even know who's in our district or region until I think August.
Yeah.
Then you can look at your region and say, "Holy shit, what a bloodbath I'm in."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you start to say, "I got to navigate through my region," and then once I navigate through that, now I got to navigate through my state bracket. And other kids are like, districts, regions, they're thinking states because unfortunately, the way that even before realignments, it's just geographically sometimes your districts and regions are a little easier or harder than others, but that's just the name of the game.
Right.
It's the way it works.
Yeah.
My point is, goals can sometimes have a lot of speed bumps to those goals. You're facing studs early on.
That's why they feel so good when you reach them.
Of course, absolutely.
100%.
I was always big on one match at a time.
Yeah, well, you got to be. Yeah, I agree with
Always
that.
on that.
So, is it safe to say that Vin Santinello has been your biggest influence you've had from a coaching perspective?
Yeah, recently he's becoming. I think he's not stepping away from college, but he has. He's been through injuries, whatever. He's like, I think he's on his last year, second to last year on eligibility. He's going to come in and coaching, but it was always Coach Pock.
Okay.
That's your thing.
Okay.
Yeah, he taught me a lot.
So you're talking about young Vin.
Yeah, young.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I was talking about but Coach Vin too.
Yeah.
Always,
Vin.
since I was really little, always on me. I practice, always on me. Ramirez, always.
I think it's cool how your dad came up to who did you say dad? Oh, Damadio's
Damadio,
dad. Yeah. And that's how dads do it.
It is.
That's exactly how they do it.
But it's not like that in other sports.
Yeah, you get mauled.
That's the thing. It's different in other sports. In other sports, you get mad at the thing, you're pissed at the parent. And this one, it's like, yo, you beat up my son. Where does he go? Where does he train? Tell me all about him. You guys are awesome, you know? It's funny shaking a dad's hand. It's a different world.
What would have to occur at St. Peter's Prep for you to maybe considering leaving? I mean, is that somewhere? Is it safe to say that that's your home for the next 3 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was really tough that summer going into prep. I was hanging out with my friends almost every day, going to the beach. I was like, dude, I won't be able to see them all school year.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard. New people. I knew the wrestling team. I was practicing with them all summer, but then I was like, my friends, been with them since I was little. It's gonna be hard. But it really wasn't the transition. The schoolwork was, and everything. Academics was really tough transition. I gotta say that. But really, the transition, not being able to hang out with my friends every day, not seeing them every day, it's just gonna be. I just thought it was a better summer.
Yeah.
So Neville's graduated, so you have to take the train all next year?
I mean, I'm gonna be
drive
17 in February.
Can you drive there?
I could drive there.
They have parking in the inner city?
They have teachers' lots, but the students have to find parking around the school. It's not as tough as you think. It's not like New York, but there's also parking garages.
Okay.
So
Interesting. Yeah, but when do you turn 17?
towards the end of the season, February.
Okay, so you have 5 months of train rides. That's wild.
Yeah.
I love it, though.
It's not as bad as you think, actually.
no,
It's like therapeutic.
You do your homework on the train. You do a lot of stuff.
I was at Latin. I was studying the last few weeks of school. I was studying every day on the train for
I
Latin.
just don't know anyone that takes a train to school. It intrigues me. It's definitely
unique,
different.
I got to take you to Brooklyn, bro.
Well, I don't live in Brooklyn. No, I don't know.
It kind of grows you up a little bit. That's what I think about really unique.
Builds your immune system up too, for sure. Driving on those snot rockets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Any weirdos? Any kind of weird encounters?
So many.
Oh, dude,
My first day on the train, actually, first day on the path, a homeless dude walks up to me. A whiff I took, but asked me for $1. I just kept my head down. My parents were always like nervous about that. I just kept my head down.
Could you tech-fold him?
Oh, I think so. In Newark, you want to see something funny? Just go to Newark Penn.
Oh, yeah.
Train station.
Oh, dude, it's crazy.
I've never been.
It's just
Just
it's an interesting spot.
Close your eyes and imagine something.
Have a good time.
That's what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
I used to work in one of the buildings connected to that when I was young. I was probably just a little bit older than you, and I used to go there all the time. My car broke down on the McCarter Highway, right in the middle, block traffic for everything. I never had things yelled at me like that before in my life. But people driving by, you motherfucker, dude, screaming at me. It's crazy. I'm like 17 now, dude, blocking the whole lane is in traffic down in Newark. Oh, it was crazy.
That's wild.
Crazy, yeah.
So you got practice tonight?
I do. Yeah.
Get to practice. Thanks for coming, man.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you.
Thank you for having
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Christian Ramirez, St. Peter's Prep stud.
Get him. Attention, wrestling fans, parents, and future state champs. This is your podcast. We're shining a light on the toughest high school New Jersey wrestlers and coaches who are building warriors one takedown at a time. Follow us, like, and subscribe on your favorite platform. Doesn't cost you anything, but it goes a long way to support the show. Don't just watch the journey, be part of it.